Anu, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Hello?
Yes,
I
ma'am. I
think
can hear you
Anu,
now.
like last class, same issue in the volume. I am not able to hear you, but whether you are able to hear me? Okay. Hello? Yes, Anu, sorry, I was checking is whether someone is joining. Yes, Anu, now today we will start our session. I was just checking whether someone is joining or what. Okay, no problem. Shall we start, Anu? Hello? Hello, Anu. Actually, I was just checking whether someone is joining. So, we will start today's session. So, a few persons are on traveling. So, we will continue our class, Anu. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen? So we will, in fresh mind, we will start a new one, valuation, and then we'll do some question papers also. So now, today we will start with valuation. So from our books only, I have taken all these, what are the points we need to cover in valuation chapter. So we will see why valuation is required, and we have some sections defined particularly for the valuation purpose, and what are the rules when we need to follow as per the rules. So those things we will do now. So first one is valuation, that what is the meaning of value of supply and why it is important. So it is important to ascertain correct value of supply for correct levy of GST. That means suppose once, for example, if I am running a company and I have used the raw material of say value 250 rupees. So I have used the raw materials for 250 rupees. So now directly I will not apply GST of 18% on that 250 rupees. On 250 I have other conversion cost also, like machine hour that rates, labors I have. So those conversion factors are there. Along with that, my profit margin also I need to add, and then only GST on that total only GST has to be calculated. So that's why valuation is very important. It is important to ascertain the correct value of supply for correct levy of GST. So from costing perspective, I am saying that machine hours, that the machine rate, those labor, that is conversion factors. If coming to the GST aspects, so final price, what I am going to give it to the customer. So like what are the transportation cost, or if any discount I need to apply, those factors I need to consider. So these are the these details are required, and what these are defined in the GST sections. So those things will be discussed in detail in the value of supply. So the valuation rules determine value of goods, services, or both, on which tax under GST has to be charged. Just a minute, Anush. Anu, this Rakesh is calling. One second. I'm not sure whether he is going to join. Let me check. Yeah. Fine. Yeah, he is also joining, no problem. So we'll continue. Like for these reasons only, we need to learn in detail about the value of supply. So these are the valuation rules which is defined in detail. We can see here under section. We have two things for the value of supply. So one is under section 15 subsection 1 and another one is section 15 subsection 4. So section 15 subsection 1. So what are all defined in the to be added to determine the correct transaction value of supply. So see, we have section 15 subsection 2a and 2b, c, d and e. And last important one is discount. So the same things I have mentioned here. So we can use for our final study also. So like what is 15 subsection 1 and 15 subsection 2a and subsection 2 para c and 2d and 2e. So these are very important. These things comes under section 15 subsection c. So the value of supply is defined under section 15 subsection 1. So if those below details are not included, then we go step by step. So what is under section 2a, subsection 2a, 2b, 2c, those things we go in detail now. So for the value of supply, simple example is there. Mr. A goes to shop of Mr. B and purchase television. He pays amount 50,000 as consideration for 52 inches LED TV. Then it is the 52 inches LED TV which is including the price, which is including GST as well. The MRP of the product is 65,000. The discount offered to all buyers 15,000. As per section 15 subsection 1, the valuation will be as per transaction value basis. So for example, if I am running a shop and I am selling a TV for 50,000, which is I am giving a discount to customer for 15,000 rupees, but the original value of the television is 65,000, but I am giving at a discounted price to customer for 50,000. So now whether I will be paying GST on 50,000 or I will be paying GST on 65,000. So those things will be in this value of supply chapter. So here it is as per the value of supply, we need to consider the transaction value. So here the transaction value means how much I received as a consideration. So 50,000. So 50,000 means on 50 only the CGST, SGST is applicable. So if Mr. A not maintained sole consideration for such sale or they are related persons, then valuation will be based on determination of value of supply rules, that is CGST rules. So this is just a simple example why we need to understand, why we have to learn this chapter value of supply. So in detail we see about value of taxable supply, which is defined under section 15 CGST Act 2017. The very important is the price has sole consideration. So what is the final price I am selling the product to customer, which is very important. If price is the sole consideration, yes, then second step we need to check is supplier and recipient are not related. So we have to see they are not related. So when we conclude if they are not related, then we should go with value of supply section 15, this right side one. Then we should follow this transactions. So if they are not the related and price is not the sole consideration, then we go as per this section 15 subsection 4. There are multiple rules which also will be seeing one by one. Rule 27, 28, 29, 30 and 31. So now we will see about section this consideration. It is a general one which I have mentioned here. In detail also we will see one important point we need to understand in this consideration is, suppose if any subsidy given, if any subsidy is received from the government, that needs to be excluded. So the transaction value when we are calculating, in that any consideration which is given as a subsidy by the central or state government should be excluded from the transaction value. That is the important note here. When we start working on the problems in detail, or will clear many of our questions also. So related persons, again that meaning of related persons we should know, and the distinct persons. These are very important. So even in our final also, last year question paper also, the meaning of related and distinct persons has been asked. So please focus on those important terms. So now as we have seen 15 subsection 1. Price is sole consideration for sale. So what is mean by price is the sole consideration for sale? So in that given example, the one which we have seen, in that example it is clearly mentioned. So what is the price we are selling it to the customer? So what price, that invoice transaction, and what is the price we received? That is the sole consideration for sale. Rakesh, good evening. Any doubt, Anu or Rakesh, please ping me on Teams. I don't know why I am not able to hear you. If any queries are there, please let me know. And just now we have started, Rakesh. It is today is a fresh mind. We will start with our valuation topic. So valuation, there are just a summary why we want to learn about the valuation, why it is important. So we were discussing just 5-10 minutes back only we have started our class. So why valuation is important? Because based on that transaction value we will be applying the GST. So that's why valuation is important. So if we say the transaction value, what are the items needs to be considered and what items needs to be excluded, that will be in this chapter given in detail. So as per section 15 CGST rule, so the valuation is we have multiple sections are there, rules and sections. So the value of taxable supply, that is section 15. The price is the sole consideration and the supplier and the recipient are not related. Then we will go following these rules. Actually there is a simple example here. So the shop they are selling the LED TVs. original value of the television is 65,000 and the shop is selling it for a discounted price of 50,000. So here the question is whether he will be paying GST on 65,000 or he will be paying on 50,000. That is the important question here. So that we call it as the price is the sole consideration. So that's why we are going through in the step by section wise now. So these are the today's we will be seeing what are the this is page number also I have mentioned here. So now we are into 15 subsection 1, price is the sole consideration for sale. So we'll see, start from here. The valuation is done based on the transaction value only. If price is a sole consideration where the supplier and the recipient are not related. So this is unrelated parties. The sole consideration means paying GST on such consideration. So there should not be any revenue loss to the department. So why it is very important? Because based on our transaction value only we pay GST to the department. So we should not make them any revenue loss. So the sole consideration means paying GST on such consideration, there is no revenue loss to the department. And value of supply of goods or services shall be the transaction value, that is price actually paid or payable for the said supply of goods or services. The supplier and the recipient are not related and the price is the sole consideration for the supply. These are the two important things. Now this thing is for the mentioned defined under section 15 subsection 1. Now we'll go one by one, like what is section 15 subsection 2 clause A. So that is any other taxes, duties, fees and charges are there, and 2B is supplies made by the recipient on behalf of supplier. 15(2)C is commission and packing or incidental expenses, then interest, late fee or penalty for the delayed payment. So I sold the TV for 50,000 and I told my on credit basis, and I told my customer as well that the payment should happen on or before 31st March. So if you are paying post 31st March, I need interest at the rate of 2% or interest along with interest of 1,000 rupees you need to pay. So for the interest what I am charging 1,000 rupees additional, whether I need to pay GST for that 1,000 rupees or not, those will be seen in detail in this interest or late fee or penalty for delayed payment. Then 15 subsection 2E is subsidy directly linked to the price other than government subsidy. So for industries which have been started in the very somewhere like SEZ zones or somewhere outer area, so the government is giving some subsidies, or the industry is manufacturing of agricultural related products. So these so for these kinds of industries they get some subsidies from the government. So whether those subsidies to be included in the transaction value or not, or whether GST is applicable, so one by one we will be seeing in detail. So I am going back to section 15 subsection 2A. Any taxes, duties, cesses, fees and charges levied under any law for the time being in force, other than GST compensation cess shall be added to the value of supply. So these taxes, duties, these things has to be added to the value of supply. So other than the GST related. So there is a simple example. So what exactly means that taxes, duties, any fees, charges levied, we need to add to the transaction value. On that transaction value only GST has to be applied. So what does it mean? So there is an illustration here. Admission to True Theatre 90 rupees per ticket for a Tamil movie as well as Hindi movie, and there is an entertainment tax of 10% for Tamil and 20% for other languages. In the month of November, the theatre has sold 2000 tickets of Tamil movie and 1500 tickets of Hindi. Find the value of taxable supply of service, and the applicable GST is 18. The percentage is different here. Find the GST liability. So how many, first what we needed to calculate is what is the rate per ticket? 90 rupees. And how many tickets for Tamil and Hindi? So it is for 2000 and 1500. So what we have to do first, it is 90 rupees. Then we need to add the entertainment tax. We derive the taxable supply. So this 99 and 108 only will be considered here for the as a like a consideration. So on this value only GST will needs to be calculated and not directly on 90 rupees. We need to calculate GST including that. These are the taxes which we have seen in this point. Any taxes, duties, cesses, fees and charges levied. So these are the additional taxes which needs to be added in the transaction value. So what we summary of this illustration is GST to be calculated not directly on 90 rupees. We need to calculate including the any other charges if applicable or there. Then we have subsection 2 para B. It is supplies made by recipient on behalf of supplier. So what is the supplies made by recipient on behalf of supplier? What does it mean? The transaction value will include the amount which the supplier is liable to pay, but it has been paid by the recipient of supply. So I am going to purchase a washing machine. I have booked it and the supplier has already delivered to my place. So there is an understanding that I will pay the transport charges on behalf of the supplier. So now the supplier, while raising the invoice, he will be adding that transport charges, and on that charges only GST will be paid. So that means the transaction value will include amount which the supplier is so liable to pay. Mr. Ram sold goods to Mr. Lakshmanan 2,50,000. As per the contract of sale, Ram is required to deliver in the premises of Mr. Lakshman. Mr. Ram hires transportation of delivery of goods. However, the freight paid by Lakshmanan to the transporter. The freight paid is 2,500. So the value of supply is 2,50,000 and the freight which actually to be paid by the supplier. So the transportation charges 2,500. So now the taxable value of supply is 2,52,500. On this amount only Mr. Ram has to pay the GST and not on 2,50,000. So there is in detail in this taxes say other duties or the supplies made by recipient on behalf of the supplier. So these things which we need to remember along with the sections. Now additionally here we know it, there is a TCS is also there. So in this TCS amount, so tomorrow when we are raising any invoice to the customer who is eligible for the TCS as well. So now the question here is whether the TCS also needs to be considered while calculating the GST or while applying the GST percentage. So the detail along with illustration will be more clear. So I am not going into this theory, we will see with example here. The motor vehicle is 20 lakhs sold by Sundar Private Limited to a customer in retail market, for which 5 lakhs paid in cash and the balance amount by way of check. Find the following. So what are the things we need to find here? Actually this question has been asked in the model as well as in the final paper also. So please focus here. Motor vehicle worth 20 lakhs sold by Sundar Private Limited to a customer and the 5 lakh paid in cash and the balance by way of check. So here we need to find TCS under section 206C and who is required to collect the TCS and what is the value of TCS and what is the value of taxable supply and the invoice price. So the assuming we are the TCS is 1% here. So we are saying concluding that TCS is applicable. So what for the generally the TCS means the seller who receives any amount as consideration for sale of any goods, the value exceeding 50 lakhs, they are required to collect the TCS on sale of goods. So here what sale is happening? Here they are selling motor vehicle. So section 206C says every person being a seller receives any amount as consideration for sale of motor vehicle exceeding 10 lakhs. They have to collect from the buyer 1% of the sale consideration. So now the motor vehicle is they are selling it for 20 lakhs. So it for our case it is applicable. So hence the TCS is applicable in the given case. So under section 206 the seller has to collect at the rate of 1% from the purchaser while selling the specified items beyond the specified limits. So in the given case Sundar must collect the TCS. So section 206 says if the value motor vehicle, sale of motor vehicle and the value exceed 10 lakhs then TCS is applicable. So the TCS has to be is applicable in our case. And what is the TCS value? 20,000, which is 20 lakhs at the rate of 1%. And the value of taxable supply, it is 20 lakhs only. So how we will see here? So the cost of motor vehicle is how much? 20 lakhs. And the TCS is how much? 20,000. So the total comes 20 lakh 20,000. So now the confusion here starts like whether we need to apply GST on 20 lakh 20 or 20 lakhs. So here they clearly given that it is not a tax. The TCS is not a tax on goods but an interim levy on the possible income arising from the sale of goods by the buyer and to be adjusted against the final income tax liability of the buyer. So these things will be adjusted in our direct tax. So there should not be two times of tax is not applicable. For the purpose of determination of value of supply under GST, TCS under the provisions of Income Tax Act would not be includable as it is an interim levy not having the character of the tax. So here hence, in our case also, the GST is on the cost of the motor vehicle and not on the including the TCS of 20,20,000. So if you see below, so the 20 lakhs 1% is TCS 20,000 and GST on what amount? It is on the 20 lakhs. So the GST 28% on 20 lakhs. So the invoice price is 25 lakh 80,000. So how 25 lakh 80? This 20 lakh 20 plus 5 lakh 60 which is 25 lakh 80,000. So I put the second line also, that basic plus TCS which is 20 lakh 20 28%. This if we apply then it is incorrect. We need to consider only the cost of the vehicle only. So on that GST, that is not including the TCS portion. Then we have 15(2)(c). So we have seen any taxes or cess, duties, any other charges in 15(2)(b). And 15(2)(c), it is related to the commission and the packing charges. Sorry, 15(2)(a) it is, that is payment of taxes, duties, cesses, fees and charges. Those are related to 2A. In 2B we have seen about the supplies made by the recipient on behalf of the supplier. Now we are into 2C. 2C is commission and the packing charges. So the transaction value will include commission and the packing charges charged by the supplier to the recipient of supply, and the transaction value to include any amount charged by the supplier for anything done in respect of supply. So whatever any other commission or any packing charges is there, that charges also to be included in our transaction value. Here the example is given. Mr. A, dealer of product X, and he is selling it to Mr. X. So Mr. A supplies product X with the instruction 50,000 shall be directly paid to Mr. B as a commission. So Mr. B procures order from Mr. C for the supply of product at that is 10 lakhs. So from A's agent is who? Mr. B, and final consumer is Mr. C. So A agrees to pay B 50,000. That means the goods sold is 9,50,000 and the commission paid to Mr. B is 50,000, and the total, the taxable supply is 10 lakhs. So whatever commission or any packing charges are there, that needs to be considered in our while calculating the transaction or the taxable value. Like in direct tax also we would have seen the taxable income. So on taxable income only we apply our slab rates. Same way here also we call it as a taxable value of supply. Why? On the taxable value of supply only we will be applying the GST percentages. So here Mr. A is a seller of furniture and he supplied the furniture for 5,75,000 to Mr. B. To remove old furniture from the premises of Mr. B by charging 5,000. Find the taxable supply of goods in the hands of Mr. A. So how much he has to pay the GST then? So 5,75,000 and he pays 5,000 for removing the old furniture. So the taxable value of supply is 5,80,000. So we have seen A, B, C, D. Now A, B, C. Now we are into D. So what are D? The interest, late fee or penalty for delayed payment. So when in the first page when we have discussed, that time we have seen, suppose if any late or delayed payment is there, so that also needs to be considered in our transaction or the taxable value. The penal interest charged by the supplier for delay in payment of dues is subject to GST. So what if I am selling any product on credit basis to my customer, so with the condition that the payment should happen within 30 days or 20 days, with that condition. But if I have not received it, along with the interest if I received, for the interest portion I need to pay GST. So the penal interest charged by the supplier of goods for delay in payment of dues is subject to GST. So there is one more important point here. The penal interest against loan repayment is also treated as interest, but it is exempted from GST. So we have not still have to go through the exemptions of services. Actually we have exempted goods and exempted services are there. So exempted goods we have very limited, but the exempted services are very vast. So there if you see that entry number 27, so it talks about if we are charging any penal interest against loan repayment, so for that interest GST is not applicable. But if we are selling, charging the penal interest if charged by the supplier of goods, for that interest is applicable only for the loan repayment. There if any penal interest is there, GST is exempted. Then the last one is 15 subsection 2E. So what is defined here in this subsection 2E? Subsidy by provided in any form linked to the supply will also be included in the transaction value. So the subsidy which is provided in any form linked to the supply, that also will be included in the transaction supply. So the subsidy linked to the price, but other than the government subsidies, which is very important here. Bharat Gas sells cooking gas cylinders. So the subsidy directly transferred to the account of the customer. So this is happening in our regular day-to-day life also. Like Bharat Gas, they are selling the cooking gas cylinders, but the subsidy is received by whom? It is directly sent to the customer's account. The selling price per cylinder is 800 and the customer receives a subsidy of 200, that is directly from the government. The net outflow is 600 rupees only. So now Bharat Gas has to pay GST on 800 or GST on 600 is the question here. So now the amount of subsidy directly credited to the account holder and not received by the Bharat Gas. So therefore such subsidy will not be considered as part of the transaction value as it is not received by the Bharat Gas. So the Bharat Gas will pay GST on 800 and not on 600. So the things to be very clear is who receives the subsidy. So in this, the subsidy is received by the customer and not by the manufacturers. So hence he is not eligible to pay GST on 600. He has to pay GST on 800. The government provides a subsidy for the benefit of farmers. This is just an opposite like previous illustration. So the government provides a subsidy for the benefit of farmers, but it is given to the manufacturer of fertilizers. Such a subsidy will form part of value of supply. So the buyer does not provide a subsidy, but the government as per the scheme provides it. This will not form part of the value of supply as it is specifically specified. Such a subsidy provided by the government will not form part of the value of supply. So because here the manufacturer gets the benefit and not by the farmers directly. So in that case he can consider for this case it will not be form part of the value of supply. So this subsidy will not form part of the value of supply because it also clearly mentioned the buyer does not provide subsidy but the government as per the scheme they provides it. So this will not be form part of the value of supply. So the two illustrations are the unique type only, but we need to understand clearly who gets the subsidy, whether it is if it is by the customers directly or here in this particular case it is received by the manufacturers. So in both the case we should be very clear that which amount needs to be considered as a transaction value. So now we have seen all the important topics here like 15.1 and A, I think B I have missed one. Okay. So the B is that supplies against on behalf of the supplier. So the commission and packing charges, interest or late fees and the subsidy directly linked to the price. Now we have other things like bill credit agent commission if they are receiving any donations or gifts from the individual donors. So these things also these are general one. So apart from the regular these things we need to be very clear about the bill credit agent. In our book the page number here is 356. We have about the bill credit agent commission. So before going into this bill credit agent commission, we'll see we might have learn about this bill credit agent in other law chapters or in accounting. So but before that, just to recapitulate, who are called agent means we know it on behalf of the principal. He does the activity that we call it as a general term as an agent. So what is specific in this bill credit agent? So this agent who guarantees the payment of a debt to their principal if the buyer defaults. So agent generally, what is the meaning? So what specifically there in the bill credit agent? So what specialized term, what is the important criteria in this del credor agent is, so below simple terms I have given as an illustration. A clothing manufacturer hires a sale agent who is a del credor agent to sell their products to retailers. The agent not only sells the goods, clothes, that is who the del credor agent, he not only sells the clothes but also guarantees that the retailers will pay for them. So before selling they are confirming it to the principal. Definitely the value of goods is 10 lakhs, so I will get paid entire 10 lakhs. So if the retailer fails to pay, the del credor agent is responsible for covering the debt. So from the principal the goods are moved to del credor agent. So then from del credor agent he is selling it to retailers. So what del credor agent is ensuring? That we will be receiving the entire amount. If the entire amount is not received, so whatever differential amount is there, then the del credor agent has to make the payment to the principal. So the agent not only sells the good clothes but also guarantees that the retailers will pay for them. If the retailer fails to pay, then the agent is responsible for covering the debt. The del credor agent, they receives higher commission than a regular sales agent because they are taking the risk of non-payment. So normal agent gets 2%, 5% commission, but the del credor agent gets some 10%, 20% as a commission. So this is the difference between a normal agent and a del credor agent. So here this there is some additional things also to consider in our taxable value of supply of goods. So Mr. A, dealer of product X, and B is the agent of Mr. A, and Mr. C the buyer of the product. Mr. B procures order from C for supply of product X, which is 10 lakhs, and the interest received by the agent in consideration for extended loan to the customers, and interest is not towards the payment of consideration for the supply of goods by the principal to the customers. Actually here what we need to understand is whatever commission charges is paid to the del credor agent, that will also be considered part of our taxable supply. In this it is given in detail the same illustration with other modifications, like A is a dealer and B is the agent and C the final buyer. So now A sells the goods for 10 lakhs and the commission he pays to the del credor agent is 50,000, and the interest for the delayed payment, so it is 5,000. So that also needs to be considered here. So the entire taxable value of supply is 10,55,000. So always remember, if we are saying any transaction value or taxable supply, it means on that value only GST is applicable. So now agent, that the dealer will not pay GST on 10 lakhs. He pays GST on 10,55,000. That is including the commission of 50,000 plus delay payment 5,000. So this is one additional thing that del credor agent related. Then donation or gifts from the individual donors. So any this summary of this the donation or gifts from the individual donors, there is no GST liability on those considerations. Here the good wishes from Mr. Rajesh, printer underneath a digital blackboard donated by Rajesh to a charitable yoga institution. These are all GST exemption cases. So another very important here is till now what we have seen, section 15 subsection 1, that is price, the sole consideration of supply. Now under 2 is I am saying about only subsection. Subsection 1 is price. Subsection 2 we have seen any taxes, cess or duties other than GST. Then we have to add with the cost. Then only we need to derive the taxable value of supply. 3 we have seen any charges we pay on behalf of the supplier. So that also needs to be considered in the transaction value. Then we have seen about the commission and the packing charges and subsidy we have seen. Now we are coming to the important area, which is discount. So here under discount there are 3 different scenarios are there. So what are the 3 different scenarios? First case, if the discount is given before or at the time of supply, and if the same is recorded in the invoice. So here we will not face any issues. So I am raising a invoice like selling a television. The television cost is 65,000, less discount 15,000, and the taxable supply is 50,000. So on 50th my invoice itself has raised along with the discount. So there is no issue in the first scenario. Second scenario is if the discount is given after supply but agreed upon before or at the time of supply, specifically linked to relevant invoices, can be claimed as deduction from the transaction value. So here in this particular case, this has been agreed at the time of supply only. So then later what we are doing, we are claiming as a deduction in the final transaction value. Last scenario is if the discount is given after supply and not known at the time of supply. So the discount is given when after supply only, and it is not known at the time of supply, cannot be claimed as deduction from the transaction value. So in that scenario, so last case is how there is an agreement with the buyer that I will be selling the television for at the time of supply also we don't know that we have been agreed 65,000 is the television and the buyer also has agreed it for 65,000. Then at the time of supply also nothing has happened. Later I am in need of urgency of money. So what I am committing to my supplier, if you are going to pay, if you are able to pay me in the next 2 days of 50,000, that is if you are going to pay, I am giving a discount, for example 10%. So the final net sale price of television is 50,000. So my GST payment will be for 65,000 because it is not known at the time of supply as well. So I am not eligible to claim a deduction. That is GST will be paid on the 65,000 only, and I receive payment of 50,000 and it like a loss, that is for me it is a loss. I paid higher GST to the department, cannot be claimed as a deduction from the transaction value. That is very critical in the discount phase stage. So the same in the flow chart, like discount covering under section 15.3, which is not covered under section 15.3. The last scenario is called as a secondary discount. So the first two cases, buy more, save more offers. Second is periodic or year-ending discounts. We call it as an year-ending, like to show more or the high sales, the number of quantities, say there's a Maruti or a Tata Motors or any, these are major MNCs and all, to show their higher sales in the year end, they give more discount. So the year ending discounts are into at or before the time of supply. So in first two cases there is no issue, that is allowed as deduction from supply. ITC not required to reserve. But in the third scenario, the secondary discount not allowed as deduction from supply. Cashback, this also similar like cashback offers. So let's see simple example about this discounts. Mrs. Ashok Enterprise sells mineral water bottles, MRP 20 per bottle. Customers availing discount 4 per bottle. Mrs. Ashok Enterprise sold 2000 bottles. So how much is the discount? 4 rupees. So the transaction value is 32,000. So on 32,000, 9% CGST and SGST. This is the general case. This is one with in detail where you can see all the scenarios here. So the Best Cars Limited sells a car worth 5 lakhs to Sundar Automobiles. Best Cars Limited incurred packing charges 6,000 on the car. Best Cars Limited provided a discount of 1% of the car price. Once again. Yes, class regular. Yes. Best Cars agreed to provide a further discount of 0.5% if Sundar Automobiles makes payment by 31st of the month. Sundar Automobiles makes the payment 31st using net banking. Find the net GST. The GST is 18% here. Since the discount was here, the important thing which we need to look here is, first they have agreed for 1% discount, and the second scenario they provided further discount of 0.5% if they make a payment of 31st of the month. So here in the discount also, please have a look. The discount of 1% not on 5,06,000. It should be on the cost only. So that one we need to note here. So the value of product is 5 lakhs and the packing charges which is 6,000. So 5 lakhs 6,000. Discount is 1%. We know it at the time of invoice itself. So discount 5,000 and the transaction value is 5,01,000 and the CGST, SGST and the invoice price is 5,91,000. So now the second important one is they agreed to provide a further discount 0.5%. So here, since the discount was not known at the time of supply and can be linked to this specific invoice, the discount amount can be reduced from the transaction value. So the best cars will issue credit note. So what the company generally does, they will issue a credit note to the customer. So to the value of that 25, that is 5 lakh. On that, how much percentage additional discount is there? 2500. So on that 2500, 450 rupees is the GST, and the same linked to the relevant tax invoice. The discount given after supply but agreed before or at the time of supply can be specifically linked to the relevant invoices. What is the meaning of specifically linked? Means what? I have raised the invoice, and then additionally we after the time of supply, or at the time of supply, there is an additionally we have agreed with the customer that if you are going to make me the payment on or before 31st, then we will provide you additional discount of 0.5%. So in that case, if I also receive that money on time, then I will be raising additional credit note to the extent of discount portion, that is on 5 lakh 0.5%, which is 2500. So this 2500 rupees credit note I will give to my customer, and I also get the benefit of GST 450 rupees. So the discount given after a supply but agreed before at the time of supply, it can be linked to the relevant invoices, can be deducted from the transaction value. So in many organizations the same will happen. Like at the year end, you need to show higher amount of sales. So later the sales team might have been discussed with the final buyers. Then once the payment are received on time, the company has to issue the credit note. Otherwise there will be a GST loss, plus your debtors account also will not match to the extent of the discount amount. Only if you raise the credit note, your debtors account also will match. Otherwise it will not get reconciled. So illustration 8 here, the same illustration only, that is the best cars only. However, due to severe cash crunch, best cars request Sundar Automobiles make the payment within 2 days. What I told initially, if you are going to make me the payment on or before 31st March, I will give you a discount of 0.5%. Now, due to cash issue, I am talking to my customer that I will give you a discount of 2% if you are going to make me a payment within 2 days. The discount was not known at the time of supply. It could not be claimed as a deduction from the transaction value. So at the time of supply also we have not discussed about this. So this for this type of discounts you are not eligible to claim the GST. You need to bear the GST loss here. Since the discount was not known at the time of supply, it could not be claimed as a deduction from the transaction value for GST calculation. Next scenario, Mrs. Nambiar and Co., an audit firm based in Cochin, undertake an audit assignment of his client based in Chennai. The contract mentioned about the audit fees 5 lakhs and arrangement of taxi by the client which may be worth 15,000. Find the transaction value. Nambiar and Co. is liable to pay GST. So the audit firm, the contract is for how much? It is for 5 lakhs and the arrangement of taxi which is for 15,000. So the transaction value is 5 lakh 15,000. So here the important thing which we need to remember is not only the audit fees but also the expenditure incurred in connection, that also will form part of our sole consideration. Yes. So there are multiple illustrations related to these types of how to find the transaction value. So we will have a quick fast review of the all the illustrations, because in each illustration there is a unique point is there. Mrs. X Limited is engaged in doing job work for Mrs. Y, and Y Limited supplies raw material 2 lakhs, packing material 22,500 for completion of job work. X Limited agreed to supply job work services for the purpose of performing the activities. Job worker labor charges 1 lakh and the profit is 70,000 and material consumed 3,500. Find the transaction value. Now we need to find the taxable supply. So the service charges is how much? We need to see two things here. So Mrs. X Limited, they are engaged in the job work of for Mrs. Y Limited. Who is doing the job work? Mrs. X Limited is doing the job work. So how much they are charging? Anu and Rakesh, I'll just back in 2-3 minutes. I'll just back up. Sorry, I'm back now. So here the X limited is the job worker, and we are also going to find what is the transaction value in the hands of X limited. So how much he is charging as a service charges? So Mrs. Y limited, so we'll read this point. X limited has agreed to supply job work services for the purpose of performing the activities specified by Y limited. Job worker labor charges, so it is 1 lakh, and his profit is 70,000. And how much he is spending additionally for the material? It is for 3,500. So the transaction value here is 1,73,500. Here the note is mentioned, though he is using the material of 3,500, but still will be treated as a supply of services in the hands of X limited, because he is rendering the job work service. Though he spends this 3,500 for material, this will be treated as a service only. So we will move on to the next one. So both we are finding here, like the transaction value. We'll move on to the next illustration. Asha Limited supplies raw material to a job worker, Karina Limited. After completing the job work, the finished product 5,000 packets are returned to Asha Limited, putting retail sale price ₹20 on each packet. The product in the packet covered under MRP provisions determine the transaction value in the hands of Karina Limited under GST law. So we have cost of raw material. First we need to understand here who is a job worker. Here the job worker is Karina Limited. The transaction value in the hands of Karina is the first one is cost of raw material supplied. Cost of raw material supplied means Asha Limited transferring the raw material for job work purpose to Karina. So it is 30,000. And his job work charges, that is Karina's job work charges, is 10,000. And the transportation charges, sending the raw material to job worker. This transaction is whose? Asha Limited, sending the material to Karina, the job worker. It is 3,000. Then the Karina, that is the transportation charges, returning the finished product to Asha Limited, which is 4,500. Now this last transaction is Asha Limited paid certain technology transfer fees to Reena Limited so that Karina can use the said technology in the given work operation. This technology owned by Asha Limited for subsequent use as well. And note, Karina Limited offered discount 2,000 provided full payment is made at the time of raising invoice, and the same is mentioned in the invoice. Asha Limited made full payment at the time of issue of invoice. So now if you see here, now we are going to find the transaction value in the hands of Karina Limited, who is the job worker. So the Karina Limited, what he is saying, offered a discount of 2,000 provided full payment is made at the time of raising invoice, and the same is mentioned in the invoice, and the Asha Limited is also made the full payment, which we have seen in our discount section 15 subsection 3. So now we know it. The cost of raw material is, this cost is of Ashas. It will not be taxable in the hands, considered in the transaction value of Karina. Then job worker charges, we know it, 10,000. This transportation charges, this is not part of Karina's transaction value. Why? Because it is spent by Asha while sending the material to the job worker Karina Limited. So this will not form part of Karina's. Then transportation charges. Now Karina, the job worker, is returning to the original, that is to the supplier after job work. So it is 4,500. Next one is technology fee. So this technology fee is, it is owned by the Asha Limited only, nothing to do with the Karina Limited. So the technology fee is also not required, it is also not form part of Karina's. Then subtotal we find it. Now we are applying discount of which is already given, the some amount is already given, which is 2,000. So the transaction value is 12,500. The same only which is given here. So how we need to calculate, because suppose if we don't identify what should be considered as the transaction value, by mistake we may get confusion, this cost of raw material to be considered or not. But when we are calculating the transaction value of job worker, this will not form part of the cost of the job worker. It will form cost of Asha Limited. Why? If we are going to calculate transaction value of Asha Limited, then we will consider the cost of raw material, the transportation charges from the raw material to the job worker. There we will be considering. But now we are calculating the transaction value in the hands of Karina Limited. So while calculating there, only the job work charges, transportation charges, it is the major one. So these things we should remember here. What is the why we are not considering the cost of raw material or the transportation charges while calculating the transaction value in the hands of job worker. So for job worker, this cost of material is not there to calculate the transaction value. So now we'll move on to the next problem. Mr. Banu makes a supply of 2 lakhs to Mr. Renu. The contract provides Renu will pay 50,000 to Mr. Banu and 1,50,000 to Mr. Venu to settle the debt of Banu. Find the transaction value in the hands of Mr. Banu. So what is his transaction value? How we will derive? Because he pays to Renu 50,000, he is making a supply of 2 lakhs. In the supply of 2 lakhs to Renu, the supply is 50,000, and to Mr. Venu, the supply is 1,50,000. So his transaction value is 2 lakhs and CGST, SGST. It is a normal problem. So nothing additional new here. So now we have to learn about this thing also. Till now we have seen 15.1, that is value of supply. Now we will see about In another some 10 minutes time, we will just have a look of this rule, what is the value of supply as per section 15 subsection 4, in which scenario if it applies, the price has sole consideration. So we were not able to ensure what is the consideration, and the supplier and the recipient are the related parties. In that case, how we have to find the taxable supply? So we have 5 rules here. So rule 27, 28, 29, 30 and 31. So these rules we will be applying to find the transaction value. So how we will be applying those rules, we will see quickly have a look in another 10 minutes, and in detail we will see in our next class as well. So now into rule 27. So when we will be applying this rule, the value of supply of goods or services where the consideration is not wholly in money. So first thing, we should see what is the open market value of such supply. Second thing, sum of total consideration equal to, so what is the next one means, if we are not able to identify the open market value, we are going to follow the next rule. Sum total consideration equal to money if such amount is known at the time of supply, provided when open market value is not applicable. Third condition, value of supply like kind and quality, so A and B are not applicable. Fourth one, based on cost as per rule 30, if not then rule 31. So 3 things remember, open market value. So second thing, if open market value, if you are not able to find, then go with the next option, sum total of consideration. So if that also not works, then we should go value of supply, like kind and quality. So if A and B not applicable. So if all 3 is not if not working, then we go with rule 30 and 31. So we'll see simple things, so you will understand what exactly is rule 27 is. So value based on open market value. So what is open market value? Supply of goods or services or both, the full value in money excluding IGST, that is central state tax, union territory and the cess. Supplier and the recipient of supply are not related, and the price is the sole consideration to obtain such supply at the same time when the supply being valued is made. When a new phone, example, when a new phone is supplied for 20,000 along with exchange of old phone, and if the price of new phone without exchange 24,000, the open market value is 24. So everywhere, not only in GST, even in other places also, you might have heard about the open market value. So what is the meaning of open market value? So today, what is this new mobile price in the market if they are not going to give us any discount? So in that case, what is the price? So here in this example, the new phone is without, if no exchange is there, then the value is 24,000. Else, if there is an exchange offer is there, then the company sells it for, the showroom selling it for 20,000. So we should clearly thorough in understanding the meaning of open market value. Mr. A, being a registered person, sells TVs to all customers, which is for 45,000. He supplied new TV for 42,000 along with the exchange of old TV. So find the open market value. So just now we have seen in the example, so easy to know what is the open market value here, which is 45,000. So now in the third scenario, X Limited is a manufacturer of car and sells the car in the open market price 11 lakhs. X Limited provided the car to his company auditor 9 lakhs. In return, auditor provided auditing services to Mrs. X and charged 5,000 with the condition the company will be provided the car at the price of 9 lakhs. Find the value, determine the value of supply. So the open market value of the car is how much? 11 lakhs. Though the company selling it to their auditor is for 9 lakhs, but the open market value, the transaction value will be 11 lakhs. GST will be levied. So suppose if I am running any showroom, car showroom, to my auditor I am selling the car for 9 lakhs, but still the transaction value what I sold to the auditor is 11 lakhs only. So the open market value is 11 lakhs and the X Limited, therefore X Limited transaction value should be 11, on which the GST will be levied. Now we have seen four conditions in section 27. Now we know what is open market value, and now we are going to see about the sum total of consideration equal to money. If such amount not known, if such amount is known at the time of supply. So we will see with example. X Limited is a supplier of security services, provided such services to Y Limited. As per the contract, Y Limited pay monthly 1 lakh. In the month of November, Y Limited supplied uniforms to all employees of Mrs. X Limited by spending 20,000. So as per the contract, how much? Y Limited is paying monthly 1 lakh. But in the month of November, they supplied uniforms 20,000. As a result, X Limited raised the bill for 80,000 in the month of November. In the given case, X Limited received consideration for security service is partially in terms of money, that is rupees 80,000, and partially in kind, which is uniform. Find the taxable event of service, GST will be levied. Here we know it, sum total of consideration equal to money if such amount known at the time of supply. So here the open market value we don't know, but still we know it. The bill has been raised for 80,000 and there is a uniform supply is for 20,000 and the GST will be levied on the value of 1 lakh. So when we face any scenario like if we don't know the open market value, then we should see the total of the consideration as well. So same thing here, our academy normally charge 10,000 for teaching the commerce students. A merit student approaches the management and narrates his financial position. Our academy, considering his financial position, agrees only 5,000 from such a student. Find the value of taxable supply of service. So, but how much is the consideration? The price is the sole consideration. So, here our academy not received any consideration in any other form. So only 5,000 only they are receiving. So in that case, the transaction value of our academy is not 10,000, it is only 5,000. So the GST will be paid on 5,000 and not on the 10,000. So we should see and understand the difference in the previous illustration and here in this illustration. So here in the previous one, the invoice is raised for 80,000, but we know it that 20,000 is for the uniform. So we are summing the total consideration equal to the money, and that time of supply also we know it. And here in this particular case, we agree based on the financial position, we agree to charge only 5,000 instead of 10,000. So here the GST will be levied on 5,000 and not on the 10,000. This is the basic difference in the previous and this illustration. Then the value of supply of like, kind and quality. So this is the third scenario. So first one is open market value, second one is sum total of consideration, and the third one is value of supply, like, kind and quality. So what is like, kind and quality? Our academy teaching or coaching, building, CMAs, tuition fees of or tuition fee of our academy can be compared. Budding CMAs. So our academy teaching or coaching, budding CMAs, tuition fee of our academy can be compared with another academy of same kind and nature. So we don't know the open market value and we don't know the sum total consideration as well. Now how we are going to derive the transaction value? So based on the comparing with the same kind and quality, the goods and services of same kind and quality. So now we are going to compare the R Academy with other institutions, CMA institution only, and not compare with home tuition of a faculty or of the 4th standard students. So we will not be comparing with any primary school tuition centers. We have to compare with the CMA, any other academic institution only. So goods or services, same kind and quality. So next one is the identical or similar nature or product. So actually we have to see all these 4 different phases also. Like first one is goods or services of same kind and quality, identical or similar nature, similar circumstances, comparison of various factors and so on. So here the last one I will say, like heavy duty machines cannot be compared with ordinary laser jet printer. Likewise, the interior decorator completed interior decoration of a residential house measuring 1000 square feet cannot be considered as a similar service for doing interior decoration of 1000 square feet of office area. So this comparison is generally given. We need to, whenever you are deriving the transaction value, you need to compare with similar kind of any institutions or any sort of services. So here when we are comparing the interior decorator's transaction value, if they have done the interior decoration of a house, you should not compare the interior decoration of office. So you need to compare the same comparison of various factors only and the similar circumstances, similar nature. Only then our transaction value will be at least to that extent we can show perfectly.
So we have seen the four different conditions in the rule 27. So in the last case where A to C, if we are not able to identify, then we have to go with the subsection D. So subsection D says you need to follow rule 30 or rule 31. So we'll stop till here, because this rule 30 we need to see the different things. What are the it is like a costing only, it's like a costing. So we can quickly I think it will take another half an hour to have a look on all the different types of illustrations. So we will see it in our next class. And Anu or Rakesh, if anything we need to add in our class, please message me. Suppose this valuation of supply, even in your inter, if you have covered many things, and here if not covering the same things, please let me know. In the next class we'll add for something additionally, like if you feel like e-way bill, returns, e-invoice, those topics if you want to add. So we will have a quick look on those topics. Then we will spend some 40-45 minutes here. So please let me know. You can ping me, or you can ping me on WhatsApp also. And thank you, Anu, and thank you, Rakesh. Yes. Good night.